Sarah Jones worked as a cashier at Wilson's grocery store, barely making ends meet with her single mom's salary. On a busy day before Thanksgiving, she noticed an elderly woman struggling to pay for basic groceries. Without hesitation, Sarah used her own credit card to cover the $78 bill. What she didn't know was that someone very special was watching through the store cameras. This simple act of kindness from a 24-year-old cashier, living paycheck to paycheck, would soon change her life forever. The events that followed left everyone in the store speechless, proving that sometimes the smallest gestures can bring the most unexpected rewards. Hi everyone, welcome to Mythos Weaver. Today, I'm excited to share a new story with you. Sarah lived in a small apartment with her mom, Linda, who had been battling health issues for 3 years. Their medical bills kept piling up, and Sarah's cashier job barely covered their basic needs. Every morning, Sarah walked 2 miles to Wilson's grocery store to save bus money. Her coworkers often saw her counting quarters during lunch breaks, trying to make sure she had enough for the month's rent. That November morning started like any other. Sarah put on her blue work vest and name tag, forcing a smile despite having only $43 left in her account until payday. The store was extra busy with Thanksgiving shoppers. Sarah kept her usual friendly attitude, greeting each customer warmly while dealing with the holiday rush. Around noon, an elderly woman named Rose came to Sarah's checkout line. She wore a worn-out coat and carried a small basket with basic Thanksgiving items: a small turkey, potatoes, and some vegetables. When Rose reached for her wallet, her hands trembled. She counted her money 3 times, her face growing more worried. "I'm sorry, dear. I thought I had enough, but I'm $78 short," she said softly. Sarah noticed tears forming in Rose's eyes as the old woman started removing items from her basket, her hands shaking. "I'll just take the bread and soup," Rose whispered, looking down at her feet. Other customers in line started shifting impatiently. Sarah looked at Rose's disappointed face and thought about her own grandmother, who had passed away the year before. Without thinking twice, she pulled out her own credit card. "Please don't worry about it, Rose. I'll take care of this," Sarah said, sliding her card through the machine. Rose's eyes widened with surprise and concern. "Oh no, dear, I couldn't possibly let you do that," she protested. Sarah gently placed the items back in Rose's basket. "My grandmother always said Thanksgiving is about sharing. Please let me help," she said, her voice soft but firm. Rose's eyes filled with tears as she hugged Sarah across the counter. In the store security room, Thomas sat watching the cameras. As the owner of several tech companies, he often visited different stores to understand everyday people's lives. Today's visit to Wilson's grocery store had shown him something special. Thomas observed as Sarah helped Rose pack her groceries. He noticed Sarah's worn-out shoes and the way she massaged her tired feet when no one was looking. Through the cameras, he could see the genuine kindness in her actions. After Rose left, Sarah checked her phone balance. $35. She took a deep breath, knowing she'd have to skip lunch for the next week, but seeing Rose's grateful smile made it worth it. During her break, Sarah called her mom. "Hey, Mom, I might be a bit late with my half of the rent this month," she said. Linda's worried voice came through. "Everything okay, honey?" Sarah didn't mention helping Rose. She didn't want her mom to worry more. Back at the register, Sarah continued working. An elderly man bought $300 worth of groceries. A young mom with 3 kids purchased baby formula. A teenager bought snacks for a study night. Sarah treated each one with the same warmth. Thomas kept watching. He saw Sarah share her last granola bar with a hungry child who had dropped his candy. He noticed how she helped a man in a wheelchair reach items from high shelves during her break. At 6 p.m., Sarah's manager called her to the office. Her heart raced, wondering if someone had complained about her being too slow during the rush hour. She had tried her best to keep up with the long lines. The security cameras captured Sarah walking to the office, rubbing her tired eyes. She had no idea that her act of kindness toward Rose had set something big in motion, something that would change not just her life, but her entire family's future. Sarah walked into the manager's office, her legs tired from standing. All day, Mr. Peterson, her manager, sat behind his desk with an unusual smile. Next to him stood a well-dressed Asian man Sarah had never seen before. "Sarah, please take a seat," Mr. Peterson said. "This is Mr. Thomas. He owns several businesses and has been visiting our store today." Sarah smoothed her wrinkled vest, wondering if she had done something wrong. Thomas stepped forward. "I saw what you did for that elderly woman today, Sarah. I've been watching you through the store cameras. Tell me, why did you help her when you clearly couldn't afford it?" Sarah shifted in her chair. "Rose reminded me of my grandmother. I couldn't let her go home without a Thanksgiving meal. My mom and I might struggle sometimes, but we always have each other. Rose seemed so alone." Thomas nodded thoughtfully. "I also noticed you've been helping other customers all day, the man in the wheelchair, the child with the candy, all while being exhausted yourself." Sarah's cheeks turned red. "It's just the right thing to do, sir. My mom taught me that kindness doesn't cost anything." She didn't mention her aching feet or empty bank account. "Your mother taught you well," Thomas said. "I've been looking for someone to manage my new community outreach program. Someone with genuine compassion and an understanding of people's struggles." Sarah's heart started beating faster as Thomas continued. "The position pays $85,000 a year with full health benefits." Sarah's eyes widened. That was more than 4 times her current salary. But, sir, I don't have a college degree," Sarah stammered. "I only have my high school diploma and this cashier job." She looked down at her worn-out shoes, feeling overwhelmed. Thomas smiled warmly. "You had something more valuable, genuine kindness and leadership skills. You handled difficult situations with grace. That's exactly what I need." Mr. Peterson beamed proudly. "Sarah has been our best cashier for 2 years. She never calls in sick and always helps train new employees," he said, his voice carrying genuine appreciation. Sarah's hands trembled as Thomas handed her his business card. "Take tonight to think about it. Talk to your mother. The job includes flexible hours so you can take care of her medical needs." The security cameras captured Sarah's shocked expression as she learned about this life-changing opportunity. But the biggest surprise was still to come. Thomas had one more announcement that left Sarah speechless. "There's one more thing, Sarah," Thomas said, reaching into his briefcase. "I want to take care of your mother's medical bills." He placed a check on the desk. Sarah's eyes filled with tears as she saw the amount. $50,000. "This isn't charity," Thomas explained. "I'm investing in someone who understands the value of kindness. The world needs more people like you running businesses." Sarah tried to speak but couldn't find the words. That evening, Sarah walked home in a daze. The check felt heavy in her pocket. She remembered all the nights her mom had worked double shifts to raise her alone after her dad passed away. All the times they had to choose between medicine and food. Opening their apartment door, Sarah found her mom asleep on the couch, surrounded by medical bills. Linda worked from home as a virtual assistant, fighting through her pain to make ends meet. "Mom, wake up," Sarah gently shook her mother. Linda opened her eyes, immediately noticing her daughter's tears. "What's wrong, honey? Did something happen at work?" Sarah told her everything, about Rose and the groceries, about Thomas watching through the cameras, about the job offer, and the check. Linda listened, her own eyes welling up with tears. "I always knew your heart would take you places, sweetheart," Linda said, hugging her daughter tight. "Your father would have been so proud." They sat together, crying and laughing, planning their future for the first time without worry. Later that night, Sarah received a text from an unknown number. It was Rose. Mr. Peterson had given her Sarah's contact information. "Thank you for today, dear. You reminded me that there's still goodness in this world," Rose wrote. Sarah smiled, typing back, "Thank you, Rose. You reminded me of my grandmother. Would you like to join Mom and me for Thanksgiving dinner?" She knew their small apartment had plenty of room for one more person. The next morning, Sarah walked to work with a light heart. But instead of her usual cashier vest, she wore her best dress. Thomas had asked her to visit his office to sign the contract. Mr. Peterson stopped Sarah before she left. "We'll miss you here, Sarah, but you deserve this chance." He handed her a card signed by all her coworkers. Even the grumpy stock boy had written a nice message. The security cameras that had captured her act of kindness now recorded her last day as a cashier. Sarah looked up and smiled, knowing her life had changed because she chose kindness over convenience. 1 year later, Sarah stood in front of Wilson's grocery store. She wasn't there to work but to launch a new program as the community outreach director for Thomas Enterprises. She had created kindness cards, special debit cards for cashiers to help customers in need. Thomas stood beside her, watching proudly as she explained the program to her former coworkers. Every store in his chain would now have a monthly kindness fund. No customer would leave without groceries because they were a few dollars short. Sarah's mom, Linda, sat in the audience, healthy and strong. The medical treatments they could finally afford had worked wonders. She no longer had to work through pain, and their new apartment had enough space for her small online business. Rose was there too, holding a dish of homemade cookies. After that first Thanksgiving dinner, she had become like family. Every Sunday she joined them for dinner, filling their home with stories and laughter. She wasn't alone anymore. This program started because of one person's kindness. Thomas addressed the crowd. Sarah didn't help Rose for a reward. She did it because she cared. That's the kind of leadership our world needs. Sarah's team had already helped hundreds of families. She'd hired people who understood struggle, who knew what it meant to choose between bills and food. Her own experience as a cashier made her a better leader. After the ceremony, Mr. Peterson approached Sarah. "Remember when you used to count quarters during lunch breaks?" They both laughed. Now, Sarah ensured all cashiers in Thomas's stores earned living wages and had good benefits. That evening, Sarah visited her old checkout counter. The security cameras were still there, silently watching. She smiled, remembering the day that changed everything. A new cashier was helping an elderly man who was short on cash. Without hesitation, the cashier pulled out a kindness card. Sarah watched the elderly man's grateful smile, the same smile she had seen on Rose's face a year ago. The cycle of kindness continued. Back home, Sarah helped her mom prepare dinner. Rose would be coming over with her famous apple pie. As they cooked, Linda hugged her daughter. "You didn't just change our lives that day, Sarah. You're changing lives every day now." Sarah looked at the family photos on their wall, including one from last Thanksgiving with Rose. Sometimes the biggest blessings come from the smallest acts of kindness. All it takes is one person brave enough to care. Love this story? Tap that like button and subscribe to Mythos Weaver for more. Let us know how this story made you feel with a single word in the comments.